Hi, I'm Dr. Lynn Michael, and I'm really happy to be here again. We've had a lot of requests about what vitamins to take and how to take them. So today I'm going to share a little bit about what I say is sort of basic good nutrition, especially when it comes to vitamins, and then how to take those vitamins with or without food, what time of day. So first of all, why do we need vitamins? Well, it's pretty clear that the foods we're eating now are really being farmed in a way that is depleting the nutrients and vitamins that we used to get from food. So farming practices have really pretty much gone to you know what. But that's also a good rationale to eat organic, because with organic farming, sustainable farming, we're really trying to replenish the soil, not only with nutrients, but also with bacteria, so that we can really generate the vitamins and minerals that we need from the food we're eating. However, we still are not always eating organic, so there still are deficiencies and inadequacies in our diet, especially because of the food choices we make sometimes. People tend to get in habits with food and maybe not eat as much variety as they could for optimal nutrition. So a whole food diet is probably the best. As much close to nature as you can get: fruits, vegetables, healthy grains, proteins, healthy fats. But many people these days are not tolerating wheat and dairy very well. They're on wheat and dairy uh, elimination diets, and that alone will create some vitamin and nutrient deficiencies. And then vegetarian, vegan diets, they're optimal for some people, but again, there'll be deficiencies in B vitamins or protein, iron, for example. And in general, aging is breaking down faster than we repair. So all of our diets that can be deficient in some vitamins and minerals really are adding to this accelerated aging or the breakdown of the body, or even susceptibility to disease. As a naturopath, my expertise really is in sort of honing into vitamin and nutrition deficiencies that support the rebuilding of glands, organs, and the immune system. So this is an area that, I address every day in my practice with all my patients. So a good place to start is a daily multiple vitamin. However, in the 50s, basically we learned to make a lot of synthetic vitamins, which means that the food and drug companies learned to isolate parts of the vitamins, make them into a pill, and then tell you you had a multivitamin or a B complex. But actually, what we learned to make in the lab was just part of the vitamin, not the whole thing. So when we're eating fractionated vitamins, we're really leaving out parts of that complex. And to supplement what we're getting in the multivitamin, we really need foods that provide those other parts that are missing. Whole food vitamins are ideal, but even whole food vitamins, if they're labeled with a percentage of B's or C, for example, the FDA requires that those amounts that are specified are synthetic. So the parts that are missing, again, like I say, have to be supplemented with your food, or perhaps there's foods put into the multivitamin to provide some of those added nutrients or other pieces of the nutrients. So this is a really big deal, because if people do high potency synthetic vitamins for a long period of time, they can actually create deficiencies in the parts that are missing. So an example is D-alpha tocopherol. That's the outer complex of the vitamin E that you would find in an avocado, for example, or in oil. And that is a fairly common nutrient to be put in multivitamins or even as an E supplement, D-alpha tocopherol. Well, over time, the parts that are missing have to be recruited again, like I said, from your food, or even break down your body to find it, to push pathways that use that vitamin E, especially in high potency. So one part that's missing in D-alpha tocopherol is selenium. So if selenium isn't added to the multivitamin or not in your diet, then you can create a selenium deficiency. And a selenium deficiency is associated with both breast and prostate cancer. So you can see over time, you're on a multivitamin for years and years without selenium and a high potency D-alpha tocopherol, that might contribute to a deficiency that is needed to protect your body from disease. Another example is vitamin C. So ascorbic acid is one of the most common forms of vitamin C, and a lot of studies have shown the benefit of ascorbic acid for, improved blood vessel health or your immune system. But there's many parts missing in a whole food C complex. So even the guy who discovered scurvy knew that ascorbic acid would not cure that. You had to have some parts of vitamin C from fruit or some food that had vitamin C as a complex. The P factor happens to be one part that can be missing in a multivitamin that just has ascorbic acid as vitamin C. So my point is, you need to supplement these multivitamins with whole food to get the best out of that vitamin, to push pathways that are complete with those potencies, and then to prevent deficiency that can result. So my advice on a multivitamin is look for a fairly modest dose, especially a high quality line, because what we're making these synthetic vitamins out of can be really cheap substrate or basic material, petroleum products, synthetic, just synthesized from chemicals that can come from sort of poor quality GMO soy or corn. So look for a really good quality line, because you know that the basic material that they made those vitamins from are good, not going to cause harm. And even some lines will add foods or, flavonoids from berries, for example, to help supplement the line with some of those parts that I said could be missing. And a lot of people don't need the full dose of the multivitamin. Of course, if you're really depleted, you might want to do a good dose of B vitamins for a while, but most people don't need high potency vitamins for a long period of time. My advice is to take a limited dose if you're doing it over a long period of time, like half the dose or even a quarter of the dose. Or if you do a couple days a week of the full dose, take a couple days off during the week. Vitamins and herbs are just like food. The body likes variety. And if we can change up the dosing, space it out a little bit, give the body some breaks, then when you go back to that vitamin, you'll have the need and the ability to use those potencies in a way that's complementary or synergistic with the other vitamins and minerals you have in your diet and your food. When to take your Bs. Bs in multivitamins and as even a B complex, again, are just fractionated. Usually they're not the whole complex. And it's usually the cheap, sort of high potency synthetic ones that really cause that nausea. If people tell me that they get kind of queasy when they take their vitamins, it's from the Bs. And that also creates that yellow color in your peas. So keep the B potencies kind of modest, or especially take them with food. And again, like I said, with the multivitamins, maybe don't take it every day. Supplement it when you're getting run down, when your energy is being depleted, but you don't have to take high potency forever and ever. Just to look at how you're feeling. The minerals that are often in a multivitamin, or if you take minerals separately, activate vitamins. So they're sort of the synergistic cofactors. You don't need those in high amounts either. And it is in particular good to vary the dosing on that, not high amounts every day. Take some breaks. And especially minerals like copper and zinc. They are very much dependent on dose to work synergistically together and to not create a problem about one becoming excess to the other. An excess of zinc, for example, will create a deficiency of copper. And some people come in taking like 15 milligrams of zinc forever and no copper. And so that deficiency interplays with hormones, with your immune system. It's really important to look at that. Even anxiety has been associated with high copper. So look at that. Another kind of telltale sign that people are mineral deficient is graying hair. Your hair is actually a reservoir for minerals. And if I do a mineral test, it's usually from a hair test. So when people are graying or graying early, you want to think about, is there a mineral deficiency, and sort of correlate that to maybe other symptoms in the body. And you'll probably see with people who have gray hair that this variability of the graying can happen. Some periods of their, months, their hair seems a little less gray, and other periods of the month, or you wake up overnight and you look like you have more gray hair. That's actually this play of pulling minerals in and out for the body's use, and again to activate a lot of those vitamins and build structures. Whenever you take a multivitamin or your food, I recommend digestive enzymes. We have a modern digest complex, which is ideal. I've got a little video on that. But enzymes in particular really support the body's ability to break down these vitamins and absorb them. They also play this role in protecting the digestive lining from inflammation so that you have a good, healthy stomach and small intestinal lining to absorb those nutrients. So I recommend enzymes, and pretty plentifully with every meal for sure. Vitamin D is probably right up there in the top 3 or 4 nutrients that I always ask about next. And it's crucial, especially in the Northwest where we're at here in Seattle, for everyone to supplement with vitamin D. Our latitude in the Northwest is so high that the intensity of the sun will really not activate vitamin D in the skin, or very minuscule if we have sun. So you've got to get enough vitamin D. And what's enough? The optimal dose, the optimal lab value is 60 to 80, but the bottom of the normal range is 30, like 30 to 100 is the normal range. So you really need to supplement to get it anywhere close in Washington State to 30. So we're looking at vitamin D as being so protective because there are studies that show it protects us from at least 8 different cancers. It improves our mood. It helps, obviously, with calcium utilization to make bone, and it supports our immune system. So vitamin D is crucial, at least 3,000 to 5,000 IUs in the state of Washington, but even that is just getting people sort of into a modest range. And vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin. That means it should be taken with a meal that has some fat, so you have the enzyme power to actually break that down and absorb it. And probably the next nutrient that's pretty important for most people is a probiotic. Now again, people often mix up digestive enzymes and probiotic. I'll ask if people take enzymes and they'll say, I take a probiotic. Well, probiotics are, again, that healthy flora that lives in our intestinal tract. And that healthy flora is important because it outcompetes the bad bugs. And it also, when it's doing that, maintains a pH so our enzymes will work correctly. And we need enzymes and that correct pH to absorb all these vital nutrients. So probiotic really is helping with enzyme utilization and absorption, but not really an enzyme in itself. So probiotics are live bacteria, and we have trillions of bacteria in our body that work synergistically with us to maintain health, but especially in the gut, it's crucial for us to have enough. And there's lots of studies now showing that we're really depleted, probably because our farming methods are so sterile. They put pesticides on there to kill everything, including the healthy flora that we used to get from our food. Babies' guts are born deficient because the mother's gut is deficient, and frequent use of antibiotics will destroy our flora. So probiotics probably are good for everyone, but again, not all the time. I tell people, do a good bottle of probiotic, and then if you're in pretty good shape, maybe you can take a break. At least 3 times a year, you should try to do a healthy reinstatement of your flora, and especially after and during a round of antibiotics. Since these are healthy and they're live, viable bugs, they should be taken optimally on an empty stomach, away from food, away from enzyme, when your digestive tract is nice and quiet. So I usually recommend at bed, 1 or 2 capsules at bed, and just let it reinstate that that beneficial flora while you're sleeping when digestion is kind of calmed down. Don't have those enzymes there degrading or breaking down the bugs like they do your food. And especially since we know these are live bugs, they should be refrigerated. You can find several forms of good probiotics that are freeze-dried, but ideally these are done when these are alive, and so you want them refrigerated to keep them that way. Another supplement that many people take, especially women, is calcium and magnesium. So again, usually calcium and magnesium comes together, and that's ideal. Even at that, often calcium might be a little weighted as far as dose, a little too high in comparison to your magnesium. So some people also need additional magnesium, but minimal is a 2-to-1 ratio. And the most detrimental form of calcium is calcium carbonate. It definitely is not very water soluble, very poorly absorbed, and lots of studies show that too much calcium can form calcifications. So this can create the calcifications on arteries, creating that atherosclerosis or plaque formation. And it can create gallstones, kidney stones. So definitely the quality of calcium you buy is really important. Most of the studies telling women that they needed like 1,200 milligrams of calcium for bone health were done on calcium carbonate, which is the cheapest and the most poorly absorbed calcium. So definitely look for a higher quality. You want something like calcium citrate, lactate, malate, and a form of calcium that's easily and readily used. And again, then dosage will be affected by that. If you're absorbing a lot better, you probably can decrease the dose accordingly to, again, get the most out of that vitamin and mineral in this case, but also to not create problems that can happen from too much. So you need calcium for muscle contraction, but you need magnesium for a muscle to relax. So if your calcium's weighted too high in relation to your magnesium intake, then again, you might have muscle cramping. You really do need some equal amounts of magnesium usually to help with muscle relaxation. So look at those proportions and dose accordingly and add magnesium, I guess, if you need it, if you're getting symptoms like that. And when you're in doubt, don't self-prescribe. Ask a doctor, get on my website, and kind of look for some information to help you put symptoms together. The omega-3 oils are also beneficial, probably the next thing on my list. And everybody needs some. Again, those are the omega-3s. They're liquid at room temperature, and they have a lot of anti-inflammatory support. They help build structures in our body that are made from fat, including our brain, which is over 60% fat. They help make our hormones, including estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and they help make this fat lipid membrane around the outer layer of every cell. So the quality of fat that we're making these structures from really affects how the structures stay healthy and how we use those structures like the hormones. Now we are solid at room temperature, so a higher percentage of our diet really should be from saturated fat. And that's gotten a really bad rap, mostly because the studies done on saturated fat were done from margarines. I don't even know the word anymore because I haven't used it for so long. But those poor quality synthetic fats were really found to be incorporated into structures of our body that became more easily inflamed, like our arterial lining, our blood vessels, for example. So really you want good quality saturated fat from your meats, from your organic dairy products. So you really want to keep a little bit of the omega-3s in, maybe even like a 25%. You don't need, 6 omega-3 capsules a day. You need 1 to 2. Again, it's a fat soluble, or it is a fat, so it's going to be best taken with a meal that has fat, but for best absorption and utilization. So keep your omega-3s in, keep them in a kind of a modest dose, and take them with a meal that has fat. Again, this is an oil, and so you want to keep fats or your fatty acids in the refrigerator. It's a little harder to remember to take them, but oil can go rancid pretty easily when it's exposed to oxygen. So that's why a lot of these are in dark containers and really best refrigerated. If you're starting to get an off taste from the oil after you eat it, it might be going bad. If it's been in there more than 3 months, probably should either eat it more frequently or get a smaller bottle. And herbal medicines, last thing on the list, because a lot of people are taking herbs, which are wonderful. Herbs generally are better on an empty stomach, not competing with the big meal. Maybe a little snack, but not competing with the big meal. You're going to get more out of those herbs. You're going to see the benefits of how they're trying to help you, whether that's your nervous system or your brain or sleep, for example. So best take those on a small amount of food, a little liquid, or on an empty stomach. So I hope you've gotten something out of this. If you'd like more information, you can always look at our website. I have contact information on mine and, of course, on how to have access to our quality products. And I appreciate you listening and hope to see you again. Thank you.